Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a dark-themed, highly systematic journey on mastering Postman. Now, if you work in IT support or engineering, you already know the deal. A well-organized workspace, it's literally the difference between crushing an issue in 2 minutes or spending hours just completely lost in the dark. So we're going to take absolute chaos and transform it into total clarity. Let's get into it.
Picture this scenario. You're a new support engineer, right? You log in on day one, you open up this massive, totally undocumented workspace, and bam, you're staring at a wall of 200 completely unsorted API requests. Like, where do you even start? Somebody built it from scratch, maybe a second dev jumped in and added their own stuff, and now everyone's just maintaining their own, slightly tweaked, unsynced copy. It is a total nightmare. Only one person actually understands how the whole collection works, and of course, they're out of the office.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference we're tackling today. One approach is that anxiety-inducing, flat, chaotic list of requests where literally nothing makes sense. The other is a calm, logical, professionally structured setup. That second one is exactly what we are going to build together right now, a fully reusable setup that actually empowers your entire team instead of slowing them down.
So here is our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll tackle the workspace chaos problem. Second, folder structure best practices. Third, adding inline request documentation. Fourth, shared config with variables. And finally, the 5-minute bug handoff.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the workspace chaos problem and the reality of inheriting 200 unsorted requests. Moving right along to Section 2, folder structure best practices and building a logical hierarchy. So to escape that chaos of unsynced individual copies that honestly just leads straight to technical debt, you've got to rethink your collection sidebar. We want to build a multi-tiered hierarchy here to really reduce cognitive load. Let's say you have an e-commerce API. Well, that's your top-level collection. Step 1 is organizing by service. You create folders for things like user authentication, product management, and order processing. Then, Step 2 is getting granular. Within product management, for example, you add subfolders for electronics or clothing. Doing this means a developer can instantly find the exact endpoint they need, zero guesswork required. But to make this hierarchy truly professional, we absolutely have to lock in some foundational naming conventions. First up, your collections and environments. Keep those in title case. Your folders should always be named by their functional group. Now this next one is crucial. Your API requests should always start with a present tense verb. Think create shipment or get user. That way there's a clear expectation of the action. And finally, keep those variables in snake case. When your whole team follows this semantic standard, every single element becomes instantly readable. It's a real game changer.
All right, on to Section 3, adding inline request documentation and making collections self-documenting.
I really want to emphasize this powerful insight straight from Postman's best practices. Collections serve as executable documentation that captures what an API does as well as how it should be used in practice. Honestly, this is a massive mindset shift. By treating your workspace as a living, breathing document, you move away from just merely testing APIs and you start continuously educating your consumers and your team on exactly how the API behaves. Now, what's really interesting here is how we actually implement that. Postman gives us this rich markdown editor right inside the collection and request description fields. Please, whatever you do, don't just leave these blank. You want to go in there and detail the endpoint workflow, list any prerequisites, like say needing an auth token first, document the required parameters, and save example responses for both the happy paths and the common errors. Doing all of this transforms the interface into a complete self-serve guide. Let's transition into Section 4. Shared config with variables, and eliminating hard-coded chaos. So let's clearly define what we mean here. A collection variable is simply a reusable placeholder that stores values within a collection. Instead of manually typing out an API key or pasting a server URL over and over again, you just store it once. These variables are literally your secret weapon for maintaining an environment-agnostic setup. They make sure no sensitive data is accidentally exposed or unnecessarily duplicated across your workspace. So the crucial point is the difference in how these requests are built. If you have a hard-coded URL, it points strictly to production. If you suddenly need to test in staging, well, you'd have to rewrite it manually. But using the double curly braces for a variable allows that exact same request to execute flawlessly anywhere. By just swapping out what your base URL variable means in your environment selector, you can instantly shift between local development, staging, or production. I mean, it is just huge for support teams trying to track down environment-specific bugs without wasting time.
And that brings us to Section 5, the 5-minute bug handoff, a real support scenario.
Let's move to a real-world scenario and see how this all builds together into a proven, tangible return on investment. Imagine that new engineer from earlier. Minute 1, they open the workspace, read the top-level collection README, and instantly understand the API's overall purpose. Minute 2, they select the correct environment, and all those variables we talked about seamlessly populate. Minute 3, thanks to that logical folder structure, they find the auth folder right away and run the login request to grab their token. And by minute 5, they navigate straight to a beautifully documented request, plug in the user's data, and reproduce the exact bug. That's it. A ticket that used to take hours of frustrating digging is now totally actionable in just 300 seconds, all because the chaos was removed.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We have gone from a flat, frankly terrifying list of 200 unsorted requests all the way to a beautifully nested, self-documenting, variable-driven engine of productivity. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Which chaotic collection will you organize first? Take these best practices back to your team, start grouping those folders, set up those variables, and truly empower your team to work faster and smarter. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy organizing.